A tidal wave of agony crashed over me, threatening to pull me under for good. I snapped my eyes open. A sharp beam of sunlight cut through a gap in the blinds, landing on the back of my hand. It was warm. It was real. Instinctively, I lifted both hands, turning them over. They were perfectly intact, not a scar on them. My fingertips trembled as my heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't some final, dying hallucination. I was back. I was really, truly back. A euphoric rush, so powerful it was dizzying, washed away the pain. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand and checked the date. I was 1 month before the arrival. 1 month before the beginning of the end. In my past life, on this exact day, a mysterious mobile game called Aegis Strike had forcibly installed itself on every phone on the planet. A cold, synthetic voice had then echoed across the globe, announcing that the game was about to become our new reality. 1 month later, a cataclysmic explosion ripped Earth apart, shattering it into a cloud of dead rock and dust. The billions of us who had called it home were suddenly adrift, our world gone. Our only hope for survival was the starfighter we'd built in the game. Our only home a cockpit in the cold, brutal expanse of the cosmos. Most people, myself included, had initially dismissed the announcement as some kind of twisted prank by a terrorist group. They went to work, paid their bills, lived their lives. It was only on the final day, when the sky began to burn, that they finally understood. By then, it was too late. But a few had believed, the ones with deep pockets and obsessive drive. They poured money into the game, grinding 24/7. When the arrival happened, they were already piloting powerful, upgraded fighters, becoming the new kings of the starfaring age. Rex Thorne was one of them. He was the son of some local tech billionaire, a trust fund kid who threw money around like confetti. With his family's fortune, he built a high-tier fighter and founded a ruthless guild he called the Dominion. They were pirates, preying on the weak, ruling their small corner of the void through fear. And then there was Isabel Reed. My Isabel, the love of my life. When Rex Thorne's goons cornered me, ready to strip my ship for parts, I was prepared to overload my core and take them all with me. But Isabel, she stabbed me in the back. Literally. Isabel Reed. God, what a fool I'd been. But fate, it seems, had given me a second chance. This time, I wouldn't make the same mistakes. I would build the most powerful fighter the universe had ever seen. And I would make Rex Thorne and Isabel Reed pay for what they did. 1,000 times over. I took a deep breath, forcing the white-hot rage and elation back down. My hands were shaking as I navigated to the new icon on my phone's home screen. Aegis Strike. Just as my thumb hovered over it, a slight rustle of sheets beside me broke the silence. I turned my head. A woman with a cascade of blonde hair and a figure that could stop traffic was climbing out of my bed. She was wearing one of my old t-shirts as a nightgown. It was my girlfriend, Isabel. The sight of her made my vision swim with red. In the last life, Isabel had been a skeptic. She'd laughed off the game, refusing to play. When Earth shattered, she was nearly lost in the blast. It was me. I got to her in the chaos, pulling her into my cockpit, saving her life. I shared my meager supplies with her. I protected her. I thought we would face this new, terrifying universe together, just the two of us against the void. But when the Dominion surrounded us, and I was outmatched, ready to die on my own terms, she drove a knife straight into my heart. It was the survival knife I'd given her for protection. That single, treacherous blow short-circuited my fighter's self-destruct sequence. The last thing I remember is the life draining out of me, my hands closing around her throat, a final futile act of rage as my world went dark. I died with my eyes wide open, consumed by a pain far worse than any blade. She looked up, and when her eyes met mine, I saw no trace of guilt or affection, only a cold, seething anger. It was as if I was the one who had wronged her. My blood ran cold. A wild thought sparked in my mind. She's back, too. Before I could speak, Isabel's sharp, accusing voice confirmed my deepest fear. Leo, you son of a bitch. She was screaming, her voice raw with a fury I knew all too well. We were together for 2.5 years. Even animals have more loyalty. Were you really going to take me with you? Just to spite them? A dam of fury broke inside me. I shot out of bed, my voice a roar. You have the goddamn nerve. I pointed a trembling finger at her. Without me, you would have been vaporized along with the planet. I saved your life. I gave you half of everything I had. And what did you do? How did you repay me? I was shouting now, the words tearing from my throat. You stabbed me in the back with the same knife I gave you to protect yourself. So what? Isabel sneered, her expression twisting into one of pure, unapologetic contempt. Just because you saved me, I was supposed to die with you? Get over yourself, Leo. Don't be so selfish. Her eyes were cold and hard. Rex Thorne is 10 times the man you are. He has power, real power. With him, I can actually survive, maybe even live well. What was I supposed to do? Stick with the losing team? She slung a pre-packed duffel bag over her shoulder, the cynical smirk on her face making my stomach turn. You want me to die with you? Dream on. This time, I'm not making the same mistake. I'm going straight to Rex. I'm going to be his girl from day one, and I'm going to have everything I deserve. For a split second, a primal urge to kill her, right there, consumed me. To make her pay for her betrayal before it even happened. But I couldn't. Not yet. The world was still sane. Society hadn't collapsed, and the laws were still in effect. If I killed Isabel now, I'd be in a prison cell when the arrival happened. My chance for revenge, for survival, would be gone. I couldn't let my anger derail everything. I closed my eyes, dragging in a ragged breath. When I opened them again, the inferno of rage had been replaced by an arctic calm. All that was left was a deep, chilling disdain. I spoke one word, my voice flat. Go. Isabel shot me a final, hateful glare, then turned and walked out of my life for the second time. The moment the door clicked shut, I didn't waste a second on self-pity. I tapped the Aegis strike icon. The screen flared to life, and a familiar game interface materialized, accompanied by an epic, orchestral score. The starter fighter options appeared, exactly as I remembered them. The first was the Liberty Warden, an A-tier premium fighter available in the $5.99 starter pack. Its stats were balanced, a solid all-rounder. Not top tier, but a respectable choice. In my first life, that's what I'd picked. But I hadn't taken the game seriously, hadn't put in the grind. I'd only managed to upgrade it to tier 3. It was just enough to survive the early days, but not enough to thrive. The second was the Shadow Corsair. It was a gorgeous ship, all sleek black lines and neon pink accents. Incredibly fast and perfect for ambushes, but its defenses were paper-thin and its potential for upgrades was low. It was a popular choice for players who cared more about aesthetics than the meta. The third, the last option, was the Striker. It was the basic, free-to-play starter fighter. No pa igual, no starter pack. Anyone could pick it. Its early game stats were pathetic, a flying brick with mediocre everything. Its only advantage was that it could be upgraded to the max tier through pure, hardcore grinding. But the grind was astronomical. It required completing thousands of missions and running countless dungeons to gather the necessary materials. Because of that, almost nobody chose it. But I knew its secret. There's no such thing as a bad fighter, only a bad pilot. Once the Striker reached tier 10, its power level didn't just increase. It broke the game. Its ultimate ability was a weapon of mass destruction, capable of turning gods into space dust. It could crush any other fighter that hadn't reached its final tier. That was the beauty of its design. Aegis Strike wasn't as pay-to-win as it seemed. You couldn't even find a $99 whale pack in the store. The most expensive bundle was around $30, and the resources it gave were a drop in the bucket. It was impossible to get a premium fighter to tier 10 in just 1 month. Only a basic ship like the Striker, with its more accessible, grind-based upgrade path, could reach its ultimate potential before the arrival. I learned that secret far too late in my past life. This time, I wouldn't miss my chance. Without a moment's hesitation, my finger tapped the icon for the Striker. Congratulations! You have selected the Striker as your starter fighter. System activated. Happy upgrading. The synthetic voice chimed from my phone speaker. A plain, gunmetal gray ship appeared on my screen. No flashy lights, no elegant design. It looked dull, almost ugly, completely insignificant next to the other, more glamorous options. I stared at the unremarkable fighter on my screen, and a cold smile stretched across my face. My eyes glinted with resolve. This time, I would take this piece of junk to tier 10. This time, it would become a legend. And with it, I would have my revenge. For the next month, I became a ghost. I cut off all contact with the outside world. Every waking moment was dedicated to upgrading the striker. I quit my job. I stopped worrying about bills. My life narrowed to a single, obsessive loop: eat, sleep, grind. I ran dungeons, completed quests, and hoarded upgrade materials. I abandoned rest, abandoned entertainment. I survived on 4 hours of sleep a night, the other 20 spent with my phone in hand, my fingers a blur across the screen. They ached, my eyes were permanently bloodshot, and my body screamed with exhaustion, but I never stopped. I knew the clock was ticking. 30 days. That's all I had. I had to hit tier 10 before the world ended. I needed that power to face what was coming. And I remembered the promo codes. The hidden ones, the expired ones that still worked for the first few weeks. In my past life, I'd missed them all. This time, I entered every single one. Diamonds, gold, and most importantly, stamina flooded my account. You couldn't buy stamina with real money, and it was the key to grinding for the best resources. Watching the numbers on my screen climb, I felt nothing but cold, hard resolve. Grinding a game this hard is a special kind of hell. But every time the exhaustion threatened to overwhelm me, I would picture Isabel's betrayal. I'd see Rex, Thorn's arrogant smirk. The memories were fuel. The hatred gave me strength. And it paid off. In just 3 days, my striker went from tier 1 to tier 3. Its power rating shot from a laughable 100 to 12,000. The kind of progress was unthinkable in my last life. Even the biggest spinners couldn't match that speed. A rare smile touched my lips, but there was no joy in it. Only the grim satisfaction of a plan coming together. The days bled into one another. I kept grinding. I cleared every standard mission, unlocked every hidden dungeon. I stockpiled rare materials, upgrading the striker systems one by one, unlocking new skills along the way. After 10 days, the striker hit tier 5. Power rating, 30,000. After 20 days, it hit tier 8. Power rating, 50,000. On the 29th day, it hit tier 9. Power rating, 58,000. I was on the brink of the final tier. By now, I was a wreck. My eyes were a web of red veins. My face was pale and drawn, and I felt brittle like I could snap. But I couldn't stop. I was one step away from my goal. One step away from my revenge. Finally, in the last hour before the arrival, I gathered the final component I needed. Looking at the full inventory of materials on my phone, my heart pounded. My fingers trembled with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. I took a deep, shuddering breath. Then I pressed upgrade. Congratulations! Your fighter, the striker, has reached tier 10. Power rating increased to 60,000. Ultimate skill unlocked. Archangel's Fury. Fighter form has been upgraded. The system notifications chimed one after another. A victory fanfare. My phone screen exploded in a blinding, cobalt blue light. I had to squint against the glare. When it faded, I stared stunned. The ship on my screen was no longer the ugly, gray brick I had started with. It had been completely reborn. Its chassis was a sleek, shimmering silver blue, laced with glowing energy veins that pulsed with power. Its wings were massive, swept back like a predator's. A faint halo of electrical energy crackled around it. It looked like a war god from some forgotten celestial myth. Dominant, terrifying, and beautiful. 60,000 power. More than double Rex Thorn's prized fighter, the Starfall, which had peaked at 28,000 in my last life. Even at his most powerful, Rex would be no match for this. I looked at the magnificent war machine on my screen, and my smile was as sharp and cold as a razor. Just then, a deep, deafening roar tore through the sky, so loud it felt like the heavens were being ripped in two. The entire building shuddered, and the windows rattled violently in their frames. I scrambled to my feet, ran to the window, and yanked open the blinds. The sky was on fire. Thousands of shimmering, multicolored beams of light lanced down from the clouds, touching down all across the globe like divine waterfalls. Each beam of light corresponded to a fighter from the game. They materialized out of thin air, some dazzling and heroic, others brutal and aggressive, some small and nimble, others clunky and plain. The pilots were being summoned. Then, the cold, synthetic voice echoed across the world once more, speaking directly into the minds of every human being. Countdown complete. Fighters are now manifest. The age of cosmic exploration has begun. All pilots may now board their fighters and begin their journey among the stars. As the voice faded, lights blinked out in cities around the world as people vanished, transported into their ships. The sky filled with a swarm of newly materialized fighters, a chaotic, numberless fleet. People on the ground stared, some screaming in excitement, some in terror, most just frozen in stunned confusion. In front of my apartment building, the light coalesced. My Tier 10 striker appeared. The silver-blue hull gleamed, lightning arcing across its surface. Its wings, easily 30 feet across, cast a long shadow. The sheer power radiating from it was a physical presence, a pressure that made the air itself feel thin and sent a hush over the chaos in the street. I walked toward it, my hand outstretched, and laid my palm against the cool, humming metal. I could feel its power, a living thing thrumming beneath the surface. Earth was gone, a memory of dust and echoes. For a month, I drifted through the void in my striker, searching for any sign of Rex or Isabel. Eventually, low on supplies, I set down on a resource-rich asteroid near the ruins of Earth's moon to regroup. That's where I found her. Well, if it isn't Leo Vance. I turned. Rex Thorne stood there, his arm wrapped possessively around Isabel's waist. He was flanked by a dozen burly men in black tactical gear, each standing beside a fighter of their own. Their ships were low tier, but they were a clear cut above the average players. I recognized them instantly. The Dominion, Rex's personal army of sycophants and bullies. In my last life, their hands were stained with the blood of countless innocent survivors. I had to suppress a humorless laugh. Talk about the devil. I didn't even have to hunt them down. They'd walked right into my crosshairs. Rex was dressed in an absurdly expensive designer suit, his hair slicked back perfectly. An arrogant, self-satisfied smirk was plastered on his face. Parked beside him was his fighter, the Starfall, a gaudy, gold-plated machine. It was a Tier 4 now, with a power rating of 30,000. He was even stronger this time around. My eyes flickered to Isabel. She must have told him everything. It didn't matter. In front of my Tier 10 striker, his Tier 4 Starfall was a child's toy. Isabel clung to Rex's arm, draped in a designer dress, her makeup flawless. She looked down her nose at me, her expression a mixture of pride and contempt, as if I were something she'd scraped off her shoe. Her fighter, the Shadow Corsair, was parked nearby. Tier 2, 8,000 power. Flashy, impractical, and weak. It suited her perfectly. I almost felt a flicker of pity. Even with a second chance, she was still so short-sighted, choosing cheap glamour over real strength. Rex swaggered over, looking me up and down before his eyes landed on my striker. He let out a short, sharp laugh. "So you're Leo. Isabel's ex," he drawled. "And this is your ship? The striker? Seriously?" He shook his head in mock disappointment. And here I was, thinking a guy who came back from the dead might actually be a threat. "This is just sad." He explained how Isabel had come to him, claiming to be from the future. He'd thought she was crazy, just another gold digger, but decided to humor her. When the game became real, he'd started hunting for me, worried I'd be a rival for his power. "What a waste of time," he concluded with a sneer. Isabel joined in, her voice dripping with venom. "I told you he was a loser, Rex. He's always been a loser. Even with a second chance, he still ends up with nothing." She gestured dismissively at my ship. "Look at that piece of junk. Now look at my Shadow Corsair. Look at Rex's Starfall. It's not even a comparison. I'm so glad I left you when I did. If I'd stayed, I'd be stuck in that flying trash can, waiting to be picked off by the first pirate who came along." Rex's goons started chiming in, their laughter echoing in the thin atmosphere. "Boss is right, this guy's a joke. Picking the striker? What an idiot. Yeah, that F2P piece of crap will never amount to anything." "Hey, Leo," one of them shouted, puffing out his chest. "Why don't you get on your knees and apologize to the boss and Miss Reed right now? If you kiss his boots, maybe he'll let you join the Dominion. You can be our janitor." Their taunts washed over me. I felt nothing. No anger, no humiliation. Just a profound, icy calm. I stood beside my striker, my face a blank mask, my eyes empty of all emotions save for a cold, lethal light. Slowly, I raised my hand. Not in surrender. It was time. In my first life, To avoid attention and make scavenging easier, I kept my striker in its default, ugly gray form. Now, I let its true power shine. The ship exploded with cobalt blue light, so bright it forced everyone to shield their eyes. An oppressive wave of energy rolled out, silencing the laughter and choking the air. The pressure was immense, a physical weight that made their knees tremble. Then, with a single thought, I unleashed its ultimate skill. Archangel's Fury. The sky above us darkened as cosmic energy gathered, coalescing into a colossal sword of pure, crackling lightning. The blade, miles long and shimmering with silver-blue fire, pulsed with world-breaking power. With a sound like tearing reality, it descended, aimed directly at Rex Thorn's golden starfall. The color drained from Rex's face. The smugness, the arrogance, it all vanished, replaced by sheer, undiluted panic. "You son of a bitch! You don't fight fair!" he shrieked. "Everyone get him! Kill him now!" He frantically tried to activate his ship's defensive shields, but he was far too slow. The sword of lightning moved with impossible speed. Boom! The sound was apocalyptic. The lightning blade slammed into the golden starfall. For a single, blinding moment, the world was nothing but white-hot energy. The shriek of tortured metal was drowned out by a deafening peal of thunder. Rex's prized Tier 4 fighter, the ship he believed made him a king, shattered like a cheap glass ornament. Golden shrapnel scattered in every direction, vaporizing before it hit the ground. In less than a second, the starfall was gone. Erased. The backlash hit Rex like a physical blow. He staggered backward, blood erupting from his mouth, his face a mask of disbelief and terror. He stared at the empty space where his ship had been, then at my striker, his lips trembling, unable to form a single word. The trust fund king had just been dethroned. Isabel was frozen solid, her jaw hanging open. The pride and contempt on her face had been wiped clean, replaced by a slack-jawed horror. Just moments ago, she had been mocking me, calling me a loser with a garbage ship. Now, that same ship had just effortlessly obliterated the source of all her power and security. The whiplash was too much for her mind to process. She stared, unblinking, at the glowing, godlike machine before her, a deep, primal fear finally beginning to bloom in her chest. The man she'd thrown away, the loser she'd written off, possessed a power she couldn't even comprehend. The Dominion goons were even worse off. They scrambled backward, their faces pale with terror. Some of them tripped and fell, crawling away like frightened animals. They looked at my striker not as a machine, but as a demon from the deepest pits of hell. The tough guy act had evaporated. All that was left was raw fear. One of them, his legs giving out, collapsed to the ground, shaking uncontrollably. Don't kill me," one of the goons stammered, his voice cracking. "Please, Leo, sir. I was wrong. I shouldn't have said those things. Please, spare me." His plea broke the spell, and the others fell over themselves to beg for their lives. "We were wrong, sir. Please, we'll do anything. We'll join you. We'll follow you from now on." Rex, seeing his men abandon him, screamed, "You traitors! I pay you, I feed you, and this is how you repay me." They didn't even look at him. I raised my hand again. My striker flared with power. These men were jackals. They would only follow the strongest predator. I had no use for them. Predators walk alone. Seeing the blue light intensify, the goons' pleas turned into desperate shrieks. Rex's bravado shattered completely. "Leo, wait. Don't." He sobbed. "I was wrong. I shouldn't have crossed you. You can have Isabel back. You can have everything I own. Just let me live." He stumbled backward, a pathetic broken man. Isabel finally snapped out her trance. She scrambled forward and collapsed at my feet, grabbing onto my pants leg. Tears streamed down her face, ruining her perfect makeup. "Leo, I'm so sorry. I was wrong," she wailed, her voice thick with regret. "I should never have left you. I should never have betrayed you. Please forgive me. I'll never leave you again, I swear. I'll stay with you. I'll serve you whatever you want. Every man needs a woman out here in the void, right? To keep him company." Her plea was a desperate, ugly thing. A low, dark chuckle escaped my lips. "All right," I said, a cruel smile touching my lips. "I forgive you." Hope, wild and desperate, flared in their eyes. Really?" Rex stammered. I nodded slowly. With a flick of my finger, a dozen smaller bolts of blue lightning shot out from my striker. They moved with perfect precision, striking each of the Dominion fighters, including Isabel's Shadow Corsair. No. Their screams were symphony. They watched in horror as their lifelines, their only means of survival in this dead place, were turned to ash. Without a ship on this barren rock, they were already dead. They would starve, or suffocate, or be picked off by whatever alien scavengers haunted the asteroid belts. It would be a slow, agonizing end. I turned my back on them and boarded my striker. The silver-blue fighter rose silently from the ground and accelerated into the blackness of space without a backward glance. No, Leo, come back. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Come back. Isabel's shrieks tore through the silence, but they were already fading behind me. I left them to their fate. On the asteroid, the silence that followed was heavy and absolute. Then one of the goons, his eyes hollow, whispered, "It's over. We're all dead." Another man slowly got to his feet. His face was a twisted mask of rage and despair. He turned and fixed his gaze on Isabel, who was still sobbing on the ground. "This is all your fault, you bitch," he growled, his voice a low snarl. He started walking toward her. Isabel's sobs hitched. What are you doing?" she stammered, scrambling away. A sick, broken grin spread across his face. "If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be in this mess. It's time you paid for it." His words lit a fire in the others. Their despair curdled into a dark, vicious resentment. They were all going to die here, and it was all her fault. They closed in, a circle of desperate, doomed men. Her final, piercing scream echoed across the desolate rock, a sound no one in the universe would ever hear.